Alright, here's the dilemma I have. On my pedal board, everything has a little indicator light to show the status, so I can see what's happening. And the foot switch for the amplifier for overdrive and for the reverb have no indicators, so I have no idea if they're on or not. So it's my intention to put pilot lights into the foot switch. I've done a little research, a little homework, and come up with a way to do it. There were 2 videos on YouTube that outlined how to do this. One required that you use a battery, which I wasn't too crazy about because the battery goes dead, you have to replace it at some point. The other was that you had to take voltage readings from the inside of the pedal and do some math and figure out what LED you could use so that you could use the existing power supply that comes out of the amplifier. Well, I'm not real great with math, and yeah, I know electricity, but not enough to figure all that out, so I come up with a different solution. Okay, this switch is a generic. I have a Laney amplifier, and I bought an amplifier without a foot switch, and so I got a replacement, and it's a generic. Laney does make one. It was a lot more pricier, so I purchased this one here, and I've already done a little preliminary work. Okay, inside here you have the 2 switches, and it's a single pole double throw switch. So what that means is that you have the signal coming in, gets switched out. Signal comes in, gets switched out. For some reason they decided to take and put red jumper wires, which I've taken off, from here to here and here to here on both switches. I couldn't exactly figure out why they did that, so I unsoldered the wiring here and here, and the controls still function the way it was supposed to. So that being the case, that gave me a set of contacts that I can utilize to bring in the LED. What I plan on doing is powering the LEDs through the pedal board that I have. That way I don't need to change a battery, and I have constant power. So, where I've already done a little preliminary work, I'm going to go ahead and take the switches out and mark off where I'm going to put my LEDs. So as I mentioned, I've done a little homework, and I came across some components on this site called All Electronics. Okay, it's a pretty decent site, and they do sell in smaller quantities, so you're not obligated to buy 500 of one item. And there are some exceptions, which I'll get to in a moment. This is the LED that I bought. Okay, it comes with its own bezel. Okay, that's this piece right here, and it's got a locking nut and a locking washer. So all that you'll see is just this top. And I went with red on both. There were 3 colors, red, blue, and amber. So that will drop in when I make my hole. And of course I have 2 of those. And this is the receptacle that I will use for the power off of my board. It's called a coax receptacle, and this is one of the typical cords from my pedal. So this would plug right in like so, and of course this other end goes into the pedal board. This is going to be mounted on the back side of the pedal itself. I plan on putting it right in here somewhere, and the LEDs will be mounted right above each switch so that I can see which one is on at any given time. Okay, part of the component selection process on the LEDs is that you have the correct resistor to work with it, because it has to reduce the voltage, if I remember correctly. Well, either way, the LEDs that I chose will work on any voltage provided that you have the right resistor. So fortunately, that website also provided a chart that showed at 9 volts, which is what my power supply is, I would need a 360 ohm resistor. And in this instance you had to buy a package of 10, which kind of makes sense. It was only 80 cents. All the other items I could buy singularly. But I wanted to show you that if you wanted to go with a battery, you can also buy a clip There's two styles. Okay, this one here will hold the battery sideways, like this. And this other clip will hold it this way. So with this pedal, it could potentially go here, or it could go in the back wall right along here. But to change it, you have to turn the base loose. Where I want to make my holes, I use the pencil so that I can erase it afterwards, and I also mark the surface for the power jack. Okay, got the holes drilled for both the lights and for the power supply. You want to be sure to knock off any of the slag that might be left behind here when you drill through. You just have to file it down a little bit, which I have yet to do, but I will. And next we'll put in the LEDs and the socket for the power. Alright, so I've mounted the LEDs just to make sure everything fits okay, and also the socket for the power. I'm going to do as much soldering as possible outside because this is going to be pretty tight to get into, so I can set my power leads up on my power socket, and I can get some of this wired up as well, so have it all pre-wired. In order to determine polarity, I used a multimeter, checked my socket, and also checked my plug, and that way I'll know I'll have the correct polarity going in and out to run the lights. Alright, so here I've done some of the pre-wiring. You can see on the socket I've got the leads coming in, it's positive and negative, red and black, and I put heat shrink tubing on there. Also I pre-wired and soldered the resistor to the LED, and I put a little bit of heat shrink on there as well. It's not a great fit because I couldn't get it across everything, but that'll protect it once it's in the case. Okay, it's been several days since I've gotten back to this. I had a couple of issues with polarity. The switch on this side, the polarity was fine. The switch on this side was not, so it's important that you follow that through. Okay, I've hooked up a temporary power source, and this allows me to confirm that it's going to work. There's one. There's the other. You can see I have some exposed connections in there, and that's not good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use this liquid tape. This stuff is very good. It's basically electrical tape in a bottle, and it allows you to put it on and not have to worry about having bad connections. I already used a little of it back over here, right where I made a connection, and I'm going to use it wherever so I don't have any shorts in the 9-volt circuit. Okay, so I've got everything assembled. Put it back in place, and you kick the switch. It's on. It's on. No question. Boy, those are bright too. I think I could probably use a different resistor to drop that brightness down, but that at least now will tell me the status that I want to know. Like, for example, there. Works for me.